system from yoga, from India, called Swara Yoga. I was initiated into some of this stuff years and years and years ago. And Swara Yoga, people practice for 30 or 40 years to get it down, to get to understand this. This is the yoga of breath, okay? And it's very much to do with what happens when you breathe independently through the nostrils and coming into the central space of that. Yeah. It's not a thing you can do in, and this is a deep, subtle lifestyle practice. So I'm going to go a bit deeper into that in a minute. So take your time with it. There's no urgency. There's no hurry to be anything or anyone here. Just relax into it. It's the most important thing. All right? Now, in the Tibetan systems of yoga, some of them anyway, what they say is that women should breathe in through the opposite side. So I want you to feel into what's true, because in the Vedic systems, in the Indian system, everybody breathes through the left side first, okay? Which is the moon side, by the way. We'll cover sun and moon later on, which is the moon side, yeah? And then breathe out through the sun side. But I want you to choose whichever nostril feels right for you now. Yeah, to breathe in through. And notice the differences left to right. One side will probably be more closed than the other. So just tune into that a little bit and get a sense of how that is for you today. Okay, that's all that matters right now. Right? Get a sense of that. So again, using fingers like this, there are other strategies, but they're a bit clunky right now. I want to do real simple work here. So just breathing in with one finger and then change it over. And one of the Dzogchen teachers I worked with teaches like this anyway, because it's so simple. Right? So I'm going to breathe in through whatever side feels right. I'm going to call that the first side. So breathe in through your first side and see how long and slow and subtle and beautiful you can make that breath. So you can find the nuances of bliss in that in-breath. And the subtle vortices and whirls and twists of the breath as it comes in. The beingness, the awareness and the bliss in that breath. And then when you come to the fullness of that inhale on the first side, just hold it a moment. Relax both nostrils. Close them if you want. Just gently press, close, or just leave them alone and just relax into that hold. Just a few seconds. Whatever feels right. And then breathe out through the second side and see if you can make that out breath really smooth, gentle, calm, beautiful, soft. And again, find the livingness, the beingness in that. Find the awareness in that and the bliss, the delight in that simple breath. And then hold that breath out of the body. When you squeeze the tummy muscles in at the bottom, hold that breath out just for a moment. Just for a moment. Yeah. And then breathe in through that second side, whichever that one is for you. It's all about the bliss, the livingness, the beingness, and the awareness. So find the awareness in the breath, in the dimension, in the realm of breath and feeling. Find it. And again, hold that breath when you come to the full point. And then breathe out through that first side again. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Super slow if you can. Yeah. Really take your time. We have time this morning. We're here. We're alive. We're breathing. It's wonderful. Take your time. And let's go for 9 breaths like this. If you want to count breaths without counting them or thinking about them, I'll show you how to do it. It goes like this. We can use the fingers. So finger and thumb, that's 1 there. On the next joint is 2. The next joint is 3. Yeah. The next finger is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you don't have to use your cerebral cortex to do the mathematics. You can just use that tactile quality, the ancient primitive mathematics of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can use little fingers here to do that instead. You can play. Or you can just do roughly 9 or whatever. Just explore it for now. It's all good. I'm going to sit here and do it quietly as well with you for a few breaths. This is one of the hardest breath practices to do. It's funny, but it really is demanding. And you might find you're going to breath hunger quite quickly with this one. So just take your time. Doesn't matter if it speeds up a little bit or slows down. Just really tune in to how it needs to be right now. You're doing it right. You're doing it right. Just by being here, turning up, showing up, and doing this, you're doing it right. Beautiful. A few more breaths like this now, just a few more. Even if you don't get to 9, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. All that's circumferential. Really feel that hold in the middle. You're holding the breath in the body. You know, there's a story. There are stories from India, narratives from India and Tibet about what these practices do. And of course, there's no scientific evidence yet because nobody's tested these yet. And they talk about the sun and the moon and balancing the sun and moon energies. Very few people really know what that means, I think. Some people reckon it's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, which it may be that. But in the more subtle and deeper understandings from Tibetan yoga, they talk about the link between the mind and body and how we make our reality from our perception. Interesting thing, I was reading this book recently called How Emotions Are Made. I think there's a link on Insta about it. It's really interesting because the biology is saying the same thing, that how we see things is how we see things. And when we change the place we're looking from, we see things differently. And just coming into balance like this is a way of beginning to change the place we're looking from inside of ourselves, at the world around us. So finish on the first side, finish on the first side. Very good. And this time, just breathe through both nostrils for several breaths now. So we're going to breathe through both nostrils. See if you can breathe relatively equally through both nostrils. Again, spreading them, taking that time to really feel the nostrils opening, training that nose. I recommend putting the tongue behind the top teeth up here and then super relaxing the jaw and the rest of the tongue. So the only contact is the tip of the tongue and the roots of the teeth. You find a little place to rest the tongue there. Mm-hmm. And just from there, just relax the tongue, relax the face, relax the jaw. So all the cranial nerves that come up here, just softening out and relaxing. That's going to make a huge difference to your practice. If you're tightening up in here, it's going to make it more complicated. Take your time. And as you breathe in now, let your eyes flicker left and right as you're breathing. As you're breathing in, let the eyes flicker left and right. And as you're breathing out, just let the eyes drop down as if you were looking past the nose. Eyes can be closed or half closed. Just get that flickering of the eyeballs left and right as you're doing that, as you're breathing in that long, slow, full, rich, delightful in-breath. Stay with this breath. The eye saccades. They're called saccades when you move left, right with the eyes like this. And as you're doing that, now see if you can bring your attention into your heart space, into the center of the chest here as well. So it's very centering here in the body and the chest. And if it helps you to do that, put one hand here. Hand contact can really help land awareness in the body, but continue that breath. You put your hand, one hand on your belly as well. If you put it right down the bottom of the belly, one hand on there. And at the end of the in again, start holding the in-breath. Start holding at the end of the in-breath just a moment and feel what they call in Chinese the upper dantian, the middle dantian, the lower dantian. Feel these three centers of the cognitive apparatus here, your social engagement systems, cranial nerves and so on. Yeah. Chest, lungs and the heart, and all this awareness here, and the belly. And feel that when you hold that breath there, feel the unification, the unicity, the natural joined upness, the inseparability of all these aspects of our beingness. Don't have to now holding it for ages, it's just a simple hold. Simple hold. Some of you may be getting washes of bliss, like tidal waves of bliss through the body now. This can happen so easily. And if that's happening, stay awake in that, stay present with the bliss. Don't trance out on it. Just stay and drop into it a bit more, but stay really aware within the bliss. So we want awareness and bliss together. Awareness, bliss, beingness, not a trance out into the bliss state. So it's not like we're chasing that, it's just there, but it's fully aware as well. If that's not happening, don't worry, it will. At some point it will. And start tuning into that arising goodness. If those waves of bliss are happening, if that waves of delight are happening, whatever goodness is in the system here, tune into that and start making the practice your own now. So start feeling how maybe the breath and these deep feelings of delight can guide you. If they guide you into movement, go into movement. We've got 5 minutes for you to do whatever you want to do now in terms of allowing the breath to guide you. If it's deeper stillness, it's stillness. If it's movement, it's movement. If it's sound, it's sound. Wherever it goes, take a moment just to explore spontaneity of arising flow, wherever that takes you. And whatever it is, it's perfect. So notice if you block any movement. And if there's a blockage happening, then just exaggerate. It doesn't have to be movement, it could be stillness, remember. But whatever it is, just exaggerate that a little bit so you overcome any blockages. Many of us were told not to. don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, stop wriggling, stop doing this kind of thing. And sometimes we get those hypnotic messages when we're children so many thousands and thousands and thousands of times that we log them into our system a bit too deeply. And there's an opportunity just to undo whatever of that. So if it's really good opportunity if you notice any internal voices or internal blocks of movement or breath or sound. Sound is great. Make any sound you want to. Everybody's on mute. Nobody can hear you anyway. And if we did, we'd celebrate you. So celebrate yourself. Celebrate this existence. Celebrate this life right now. In whatever movement, breath, pattern, or form needs in this moment to arise. Just a little longer, stay with it if you can for a bit more. Again, it's really helpful sometimes just to close the eyes and keep them closed wherever you're going with this. And if you want to open them, that's also good. We were all trees once. We were all trees once. Trees are our ancestors. They were here first. And they'll be here after we're gone, most likely. Excellent. Just a few seconds more. Then take a deep in-breath. And make a sound, ah. Just a big, big, bold sound, ah. You can unmute yourself if you want to. Yeah, just, about 9 breaths like that. Let's do it together. Breath in, deep breath in. Huge breath in. Really feel yourself. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more. Let's make it into a love song now. Make it into a love song. You can make it hard and make it into a love song. Make it that loved everything. One more time, guys. Do one more. Breath in. Nice deep, full breath in. How much you can breathe in. Feel the body opening with the breath here. I said one more, I lied, because I just decided we're going to do another one, all right? But this time, you know how it is sometimes, yeah? So, but this time, feel into the sadness, the grief, yeah, of life, of the fact that we're all dying. We're all dying. The moment we're conceived, we're dying. There are, you know, this is the nature of things, impermanence. We love it to see flowers rise. We see the flowers rise, but then the flowers fall. The leaves come green. They're going to go orange and brown, and in that process, they're dying. Life is dead. It's life. There's not two things here, right? Let's feel that sadness on the hour this time as well. We'll do one more big joyous one, so do two. But get into feels of grief and sadness and loss feeling. And let that move through you, because otherwise you get stuck if we don't practice moving it. So get a deep breath in here. Let the tears come if they need to. It's all good. All the madness, for all the craziness in the world, for all the distortions in the world. Cry, breathe, cry, let it out. One more in breath now, one more full breath. We find that joy. Let's move from the sadness and the grief into the joy again. So you can find that space of celebration, of praise for the whole universe and the goodness and the amazingness. Breathe in. Depth is there one sound. One sound. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? World of emotion that can be held on that one sound. No? Does anybody know anything about Buddhism out there? You come across Buddhism. You heard the name Buddha? Yeah? Yeah. You've heard of Buddhism. There's no thing called Buddhism, really. You know, there's the Dharma. Buddhism is a name we Westerners give to something which is a whole realm of teaching called the Dharma, and Buddha Dharma. And yeah, in Buddha Dharma, there's a core teaching called the Heart Sutra, the Mahahridaya Pranya Paramita Sutra. Mahahridaya means great heart. Pranya is wisdom, and Paramita is perfection. The great heart, perfection of wisdom sutra, Mahahridaya Pranya Paramita Sutra. And it was taught on a mountain peak, so the mythology goes, in the Sambhoga Kaya, one of the dimensions, which is, anyway, I won't go too much into that right now, by an incarnation of a being called Avalokiteshvara, who's known as the Bodhisattva of compassion. Does anybody know what a Bodhisattva is? A Bodhisattva is somebody who vows to return to incarnation lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime until all beingness is awake to the nature of its Buddha nature. That's what a Bodhisattva is. So the Bodhisattva of compassion is called Avalokiteshvara. It's called Kuan Yin in Chinese. In Chinese it's feminine, in Tibetan it's masculine. It's both. Anyway, so Avalokiteshvara was teaching this teaching on a mountain peak called Vulture's Peak in the Himalayas. It's a beautiful teaching. Now the mantra for that, all that teaching can condense down into one mantra which goes Dayata. Dayata is a powerful word. It means this is it, thus it is, Dayata. Right now, thus it is, Dayata. Om Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasam Gate, Bodhi, Svaha. Now, I'm not going to, that's another thing for another day, but right now, all that can be condensed down into one sound, and the sound is Ah. So when you chant that sound, Put everything of your soul, of your heart, of your mind into that sound and play with it. It's a fabulous opportunity just to explore how the depth of that. You felt a little bit of that there, I'm sure, when you were breathing. Now, the reason we can do conscious breath work is because we can make sound. So just make any sound now. Make a variety of sounds. So let's play with the vowels again because they're open throat sounds. Ah, E, U, ah, U, anything like that. But notice as you're doing that, as you breathe in, all the different muscles you're using to enable that breath to flow in those different shapes around the mouth, okay? And at the end of it, add in a couple of consonants, t, t, s, p, p, f, f, something like that, okay? Does that sound like a good game? Yeah, we're good for that? Right, take a huge breath in again. Just play with sound, any sound, vowel sounds to start with. Finish with a few consonants and see what your body has to do to make those, all right? And your brain has to do to make those. Deep breath in. Go for it.